My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe knows South Lake. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday and another amazing South Lake morning. You know, I was so psyched to get up this morning. Actually, I love this time of year. This is perfect sleeping weather. And the downside to it is I just want to stay in that just covered up enough, just cool enough because the window's open and I stay in bed too long. But I enjoy every single second of it. I don't know about you guys, but I love this time of year where I can sleep with the windows open. If it gets chilly, I just pull up a cover, and I don't pull them up much because I like the coolness. Miss Pat, well, she's a different story. She'll take my covers, her covers, the dog's covers. It's not uncommon for me to find her under a pile of pillows to stay padded and cool enough. But hey, that's one of the reasons why I like her. All right, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we have an amazing show for you today. We have an amazing guest. I'm really excited about having who we have. Today is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. We're going to talk about that. Today we're going to talk about a couple of community events coming up I'm really excited about. Cup of Joe today, we're going to continue our series on your goals and how to make them happen. And finally, we are joined by Brian Broadway, who is the founder and president of Find, Feed, and Restore, an amazing program taking a unique take on helping the homeless. So you really have to stick around. This is going to be an amazing show. I'll see you in just a minute.
West, pre-leasing now in Claremont, a first-of-its-kind commercial development in the Southeast. Contact us today to reserve your spot in this historic development. 50 West, unique, quality, Class A. For more information on leasing, contact Ashley Punn at 407-403-4165. Karen Arlano at 407-948-0767. Or visit lease@50west.com.
Your CBD store Claremont provides a wide range of high-quality, full and broad-spectrum CBD products. Topical creams, tinctures, water solubles, edibles, and even CBD products for your pets. From soil to oil, your CBD store Claremont sources and provides third-party lab tests for all products so that you know exactly what you're getting. Stop by your CBD store Claremont today to speak with one of our knowledgeable staff members to find the right CBD product for you.
I don't know if you've noticed or not, but around our commercial breaks and in between some of our programming, we've added a new little thing. These are our station spots, a little vignette from the local community, pictures of towns and things going on with our logo on them. I just want to say My wife thinks they're great. I think they're great. Everybody I've talked to has really, really appreciated them, thinks they're a nice touch. I want to say a great big shout out to Jay for even thinking of it. He's done a really good job. Some of that he just catches as his eye catches as he's out and about in the community. Some of it he does on purpose, and I think it's just a really nice touch. It really kind of adds the flavor of South Lake to our station. So thanks, Jay. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Okay, today, Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. You know, I was really surprised to find out that this day is only a few years old. The first Law Enforcement Appreciation Day was back in 2015, and I think long overdue. You know, when I was young, I didn't think about law enforcement and our first responders quite the way I do today. My family was not necessarily friendly with that side of the law. And so I grew up really more fearing police than I did appreciating them. As an adult and as a dad, I've learned to appreciate them far more. Of course, getting my life right and not looking to break as many laws as I could by speeding or doing whatever little things I was doing. You know, the law is important. The little laws are there to keep you safe and to keep the community safe. And so when you get an appreciation for that and you get to know some law enforcement officers and what they go through and what their families go through. You know, anytime your life is touched or your community is touched by the loss of a law enforcement officer, which unfortunately we here in Central Florida have had several times, you know, it really kind of widens your thing. So what am I doing? One of the best ways you can do this is wear blue today. You can turn, if you want to honor Law Enforcement Day, you can turn your social media pages blue. I'm sure there are things you can put up as your profile picture to respect law enforcement. And I'll tell you what, make a random act of kindness to a law enforcement officer. You see one at Starbucks or in the line at Dunkin' Donuts, pop down a few bucks and pay for his thing. How about this? Just walk up and say thank you. Say, hey, officer, I know you're doing a tough, thankless job. Well, here's your thank you for today. You know, that will go a long way with a cop who might not be having the best day. And, you know, you never know. Help a cop have a good day. He might give somebody else a break down the road. You might appreciate it the day that you're pushing that line and you get pulled over and they give you a pass. All right. Community events. Look, I wanted to talk about this again. We had Audrey from the Florida Lake Symphony on before. We have this. We have the Shalom concert coming up. It is here in Claremont tomorrow at the Family Christian Center, 7 p.m. These tickets are very well priced. You can buy them online at their website, FloridaLakeSymphonyOrchestra.com. If you are watching us and you're not in the South Lake area or you want to take yourself up to Eustis, they are at the Epiphany Celebration Anglican Church in Eustis at 7:30 on Thursday, I believe. Tonight. That's right. Today is Thursday. I said that, didn't I? So the 10th is here. The 9th is there. Go out and enjoy this really, really great time. The Cleveland Pops conductor, Carl, I'm going to say this wrong, Topilo. I think it's Topilo, is conducting. So get out there, get yourself some culture. You know, we have a great time. This is an event we can do here. The other thing I'd like to talk about is tomorrow, a piece of the master plan for Claremont is going to be, we have a ribbon cutting for the boat ramp, which has been under construction. They're going to open. It's tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I'm sure that's an open event for anybody who wants to attend. I know that we're going to be down there covering it live. And while I'd encourage you to watch it on South Lake TV, on Joe Knows South Lake. Jay has brought up the flyer for this from the city's website. The boat ramp ribbon cutting should be a really good time. The weather's going to be really, really good. Nice time to get out there and to see these pieces of the plan come together. And people will be using this. By the time we finish the whole plan, this will be in great use. And this is going to be a great boon to the community, not just from the moving of the ramp, but by what they can do where the ramp used to be. This actually, I found out, is a big safety measure because there are more slips. And while they're not tearing down, I don't believe they're tearing down the slips at the old boat ramp. This allows them to pull more boats out of the water in case there's a storm or some sort of an emergency. So come on down and get to that. All right, Cup of Joe. Continuing our theme of moving on and get your goals. Goals. We set out into these 1-year goals, and people tell us, you should set out a 10-year goal and then break that down to a 5-year goal and then break that down into a 1-year goal. And if you have your 1-year goal should be on the way to your 5 and 10-year goal. The problem for me personally with a 1-year goal is it's too long. So when I get to the end of January and I'm off track, it's okay because I got 11 months to catch up. And at the end of February, it's okay because I got 10 months to catch up. Well, something always happens and then you blink, right? Suddenly it's August and you're so far off track, you just give up. What happens to the goal? One of the best ways to keep a goal is to break that year down. A year for most of us is way too much. Now, there's an amazing book out there called The 12-Week Year. The idea is to break your goals down into 12-week periods. You have 4 of them, and that will, by living a 12-week year, you advance yourself to your goal, and you give yourself a shorter time frame. It creates a little bit of urgency for the things you need to get done so that you can hit your goal. So instead of putting it off for a whole year, you have a piece of it that you're accomplishing, you can stay on track. There's another way to do this too. People talk about maybe 12 weeks is too long for you. There is a certain school of thought that says if you break it down to 1-month goals, maybe you need much smaller goals, more easily attained. That's a little too short for me, frankly. I need time for life to adjust and for things to adjust. I am a fan of a book, and I've talked about this before. There's a book called Vision to Reality. I would have brought it out, but I only have it on Kindle. So there's a book called Vision to Reality. You can get it on Amazon. It's written by my dear friend, Honore Corder. I actually think I'm going to bring Honore on as a FaceTime guest one day and talk about, she's an amazing author and she's done some really awesome things. But she wrote this book called Vision to Reality, and in Vision to Reality, she gives a system for breaking the year down into 3 100-day periods. And the point of a 100-day period is you can improve, you have your goal for 100 days, and you can improve 1% each day over 100 days. And it gets very easy to track your progress and to determine if you're on track or if you're not on track. And you assess yourself every 10 days, and that way you know if you need to ramp it up a little or you're ahead of schedule and where you can adjust. The whole point to this is when you look at your goals, keep in mind that even though your goal is appropriate and may even be timed correctly, you might need to break it down into smaller chunks to actually get where you're going. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So, when you want to get your goal moving, if you're really serious about your goal, get serious about being honest with yourself. Have you given yourself a pass in the past? A pass in the past. Boy, that's a tongue twister and a half. If you have, take a look at breaking it down and getting some accountability. Have somebody hold you accountable. So that's my thing. 1 year, 3 sections, or 12 months. Those are your choices. Make it happen. All right. With that said, we are going to go to commercial break. When we get back, we are going to be joined by Brian Broadway. And yes, this name does sound familiar because he is the brother of our friend of the show and station, Chief Broadway, a family doing amazing things in this community. We're going to hear a little bit about that too. But he is doing something really cool with a program called Find, Feed, and Restore, a very unique solution to the homeless problem here in South Lake County. We'll hear from you in a minute. When we get back, he'll be with us. See you in a bit.
to Erica's Tea Room. Located in the heart of downtown Claremont, this specialty tea shop offers a traditional high tea experience that can be enjoyed with family and friends. While here, you can choose from over 100 teas from all over the world, and a multitude of teapots are available for purchase. Join us for lunch or choose from one of our special evening events. Call to make a reservation. Erica's Tea Room, making memories with every cup.
Hello, I'm Mary Rhodes with the mortgage firm, your local mortgage lender. I've helped thousands of families achieve the dream of homeownership in Lake County, and I would love to help you. Please read our reviews and visit us at mortgagefirmpros.com.
Hello, my name is Michael Singh with Singh Insurance and Financial Services. Our goal is to build trust based on a clear understanding of how your insurance policy protects you, your family, and even your business. When was the last time you took a good hard look at your insurance coverage? Would you be open to the possibility of reviewing your policy with me? One review of your policy can save you valuable time and money. Call me today to set up a review of what may be available to you.
Burgerum, located in the Epic Theater Shopping Plaza on Highway 27, is the premier destination for gourmet burgers. Using only the freshest ingredients, Burgerum offers a variety of burgers, salads, wings, and a whole lot more. Beef, chicken, lamb, fish, and even veggie. Burgerum has something for everyone, no matter your dietary preference. Burgerum, millions of possibilities, endless combinations.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors. And welcome back. Yes, that's Joe's phone being obnoxious. Of course, spam risk. I love that function on my phone. We're joined here by Brian Broadway. Brian, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Excited to be here.
Brian is one of these guys. I actually went to, I think it was Kiwanis. I went to a Kiwanis meeting. Got invited to a Kiwanis meeting, went and heard Brian speak. And it was kind of cool because other people had spoken to me about you. I think Keith Whitaker had spoken to me about you and a few others. We were talking about the homeless issue and all the cool things. I thought it was kind of a God appointment. Yeah. And so I was really excited. We sat down didn't even sit down. We stood at our cars to have a 5-minute booking. Outside. I think we talked for 45 minutes. Yeah. He's a great guy. And so I really wanted to bring him on the show to talk about some of the unique things that he's doing to solve this homelessness problem. His name is Brian Broadway, and as I said, the chief is your brother, yes. Right? Claremont Chief Police. He is the pastor of the Living Message Church. He's the founder and president of Find, Feed, and Restore. He's an unashamed disciple of Christ, the proud husband of Miss Allison, and a proud dad of Grace and Hannah. Yes. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. Thank you.
I was joking with him earlier. We had a little bit of missed exchanges over the instructions. So I was pulling his chain about email. And the sad part is I'm just as guilty.
yes. It takes me time to get to email.
But you know what? You're doing a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And you were telling me earlier about how you got here. Chief came here first.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about how you got here.
Yeah, my brother came here first and absolutely loved Florida. And basically our families, my wife and her 2 sisters and their husbands, we were all close and in ministry together in New York for another church. And had a family meeting and everyone talked about going to Florida. And then we decided yes on the move. So we all put our houses up for sale at the same time. And we had a full family move of our
Did they all sell at the same time?
No, they sold at different times. So we all came down within...
I was going to say, that's a real God thing, right? All the same offer, the same day. Yeah, that's important. I wanted to ask about that because I think that's an important background too. You get here and you weren't actually a pastor. I mean, you didn't come here, as a pastor to open a church. It was not your original intent, right?
No, not at all. We came here and worked. I've managed centers and was the director of call centers for most of my career, so I came here and worked. So it was not the plan, but it's amazing how sometimes our plans and God's plan don't line up, and we have to adjust to it. And we were just excited to be a part of this. We fell in love with the city, and when we began seeing some of the needs of the city, our church began with one key focus, which was we're not just going to meet in a city. We're going to influence the problems that we see in the city.
Now, before you get into that, though, I want you to backtrack a little bit, because I think it's an important piece of how you got to Find, Feed, and Restore. Is how did you become a pastor? You were talking about that earlier.
Sure. When we came here, we just started attending churches and not exactly trying to start a church or anything. And then when God put on our heart to begin a work, it was the concept of doing a work through outreach, and it was through an encounter also from meeting a homeless child in a car. We were at the Winn-Dixie parking lot, and we were volunteering, and we started. I ran into a young couple in a car, and they had a child in the back seat. And when I ended up talking to them and seeing if they needed food, found out that that's where they lived. And they lived in our Winn-Dixie parking lots or a Walmart, back and forth between the two. And that's where that child, that was home. That was home.
So I just want people to have the understanding of the genesis of this, that you were working in a church were you a pastor when you started the Feeding the Homeless?
When I started feeding the homeless here,
Yeah.
yes, we were pastors when I started.
Okay,
feeding the
so your journey was you started working in church, you were working with the youth, you became the youth director.
Yes.
You eventually became the pastor, and the heart for you in the church was to feed the homeless. So you started feeding the homeless, and you came across this child endeavoring to do that.
Yes, and we realized that we were feeding people. We were feeding them. We were giving free haircuts. I write resumes, so we were writing their resumes for them. And in doing that, we realized that every week we kept doing the same thing, but we didn't help them move forward. So we were finding them and feeding them, but we weren't restoring them. And we realized the common basics, or the common foundation that they didn't have, was a safe place to call home. So we'd write their resumes, and if we get them a job interview, we couldn't find them. So we realized that foundation first piece of the house, or having a place, was very key for this type of.
So before we get into what your solution is, one of the things I thought was quite fascinating was the nature of homeless in South Lake County. And I would imagine, we hear a lot about the problems in San Francisco or in New York City. And I frankly think that while there might be some similarities, our problem here is a little different. Yes. That our homeless are not necessarily all drug addicted and mentally disabled. We have a far larger percentage. It's a different kind. The working.
Yes, we have something here called the working homeless, which is different than where I came from in New York. It's a little different. Here you have the mom that works a full-time job and that has 2 or 3 kids, and if dad leaves or if they separate, how does she afford to pay rent, childcare, and take care of those kids? Here we have what's called the working homeless. People that have jobs that are functioning but can't afford to pay for living quarters and support their families. So now they're made with choices. They don't want to give up their children. Some of these moms teach in our schools. Some of these moms work in our local stores. And to keep their children, they have to, whether going couch to couch or living in their cars, or some choosing to go into tents in order just to keep their family together and to still work.
Because it's the only solution that they have. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the teacher part of it struck me, because reality is my wife is a teacher, and I went home and spoke to her about it, and she pretty much clued me in that if the administration finds out that you're homeless, there's a good chance, nobody's trying to be mean, but there's a good chance there's going to be a perception of what you're doing wrong, and they don't want that in the school, and you could lose your job, and that. You might not lose your job if you're a waitress and they find out you're homeless, hopefully. But there are professionals. I mean, let's face it. If you're a teacher in this state, you have a college education. That is what struck me, is that some of our college educated professionals are not paid a lot of money. The other thing was the situation that you said about, we have so many working homeless who have children, and that's the issue. Yes. If they were single, it'd be if they would give up their children, but they don't want to.
No, they want to keep their children. And when we look at the stats, 2018 was a very harsh year for us to realize. The United States Department of Housing and Urban Development put out their yearly report, and they said that over 70% of the homeless children are only in 5 states, and that Florida is ranked 4th for the most amount of homeless children out of all 50 states. So we're ranked fourth. We have a huge situation with a lot of homeless children. I've been into all of them, from Lake Mineola to the parks, to Trailhead Park, and you will find a homeless community there. After midnight, you'll see a homeless community of families with children that set up tents. From there to the Winn-Dixie parking lots. So it is a huge challenge, and they are working.
And I do want to give credit to the Winn-Dixies, the Publix, the
Walmarts,
because they actually know these people are there and have given them permission to stay. Because they and I gotta say that's we don't hear about that from our managers and our corporations, but that's a big thing.
Yes.
That they're not going to get rousted out by police. They're not going to be asked to get towed, or they can have a safe place to stay, and it's got to be tough.
Yes.
Where do you clean yourself? Where do you? I mean, it's got to be expensive too. I mean, if you've got a job, you're eating. You don't have a place to prepare food.
Yes.
So you're eating more pre-prepared food, which is more expensive. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. Tell us why you think that is. Why is Florida so high in that? Is it because of the weather? Is it because it's easier to be homeless here? I would think that's more the mental illness, drug addicted types. Because it's just easier to be homeless if I got to be homeless, I'd rather be homeless in Florida where there's no snow, than Minnesota where it's 3 feet deep and I could die if I go to sleep. Right?
Yes, and it's also our location. There are a lot of woods here in Florida. There's a lot of empty, open land here. So it's a lot of places where people who are homeless can set up compared to set up in a major city where there's stores on every corner. So it actually creates that opportunity. Plus, we're a state that has decent affordable housing, but we don't have good affordable housing, and we have very low income. So because our income pay is low for our minimum wages, and also we don't have a lot of available affordable housing, people that work in our cities can't afford to live in our cities. So you have teachers, you have people that work in restaurants, you have all these people that sometimes they work here, but they have to live somewhere else just so they can afford to have living quarters.
I read a story about a place up north that passed a law that they're not a major city, but a sub-city. It's still a city, but it wasn't like one of the major markets. Mm-hmm. That passed a law that their teachers and their law enforcement had to live within the city limits. And then they realized they had to change the law because they realized that if they were going to require their law enforcement, their first responders, and their teachers to live inside the city limits, they're going to have to raise everybody's pay 30%.
To be able to afford to live there.
So they changed the law.
It's something else.
This is something that touches all of us, and when I've talked about the Sandowski Fund, and the problem with government is, they say that they're sensitive to this, but they keep taking the money for things other than housing. And we're not talking about Section 8 housing. Mm-hmm. We're talking about housing that somebody who can pay rent and is willing to and has a job can afford to pay. Let's get into a little bit of, so you found this family. Let's get back to that. Mm-hmm. You realized there was a need. What did you do?
It was the first heartbreaking experience I had because I could do nothing for them. I didn't have a trailer. I didn't have the program set up fully to do housing. So it was the first heartbreaking experience to sit there and to talk to the family, to talk to the child, and to offer them food and all these things, and then walk away by saying, I have nothing to give them. And I have daughters their age. And I tell people, I always ask people when they ask you why do we do what we do, I always ask them, have you ever had a conversation with a homeless child? Yeah. And it's a life-changing experience. It's as if the light that we see in children from the day they're born, that light of life they have, is as if it was snuffed out. And they're not looking at you. When they stare at you, it's like they're looking in you to see if you have more character than the one that abandoned them. Mm-hmm. And it is the most life-changing experience. And that's what I had at that car. I had experience when I spoke to a homeless child, and the most painful thing was I walked away, and I didn't want to see me crying because I was crying walking away, knowing that after that 20, 30 minutes of talking to them and getting them food, that I had nothing set up to help them.
And it's so important to remember that there are programs for homeless. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them, but the large majority of them don't accept families.
They don't accept children.
They don't accept children.
Yes,
especially younger children.
That's huge. Our program now is one of the only ones in Lake County that accept babies. Homeless programs don't accept babies. We accept moms
because of liability.
Because of the liability.
Okay, so give me an idea of how you got to where you are. Actually, you know what? We're going to go to commercial break. All right. When we get back, we're going to talk about what your solution was, how you got there, and where you go next. Okay.
Sounds good.
Look, we're going to hear from our family of sponsors. Don't go away. This is Homefront. We talk about all things housing and real estate related. And look, if you own a house, this affects you. Because your government is taking money that should be housing your community, people in your community. Your values will be affected if we can't get the people who need to work in our community a safe place to live, because they won't work here anymore. Anyways, we'll be right back. We'll hear from our sponsors. See you in a second. Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
Are you tired of having drugs or alcohol ruin your life? Do you need to get off pain pills but still maintain pain relief? My office in Tavares has programs to help you. While not covered by insurance, program fees are affordable. My name is Alan Zupkin. I'm board certified and have helped thousands of patients achieve these goals. Please call me for further information.
Hello, I'm Mary Rhodes with the mortgage firm, your local mortgage lender. I've helped thousands of families achieve the dream of homeownership in Lake County, and I would love to help you. Please read our reviews and visit us at mortgagefirmpros.com.
50 West, pre-leasing now in Claremont. A first-of-its-kind commercial development in the Southeast. Contact us today to reserve your spot in this historic development. 50 West, unique, quality, Class A. For more information on leasing, contact Ashley Punn at 407-403-4165. Karen Arlano at 407-948-0767. Or visit lease@50west.com.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors. Welcome back. We are joined by Brian Broadway of Find, Feed, and Restore. We're getting the story of how this happened. We're talking about some of the problems, some of the homeless situation here in Lake County, or in South Lake County. Well, all of Lake County. We have a picture here that I believe we're about to bring up. Tell us who this is. Wow. Without a name. But.
Sure. So I received a call from the library, and they said, hey, there's a lady we've been trying to help for the past 3 days, and we got your number. And this picture is exactly 3 years old. This is before we had our first trailer. And I went down there and I met this young girl, and I met her mom. And the library, the police department called me about her, and she lived in an apartment not far from there. And the mom was left, her partner left her, and she couldn't work and take care of the children, and she was evicted. And when she got evicted, she pulled out in her car, she drove, and then her car broke down while she was driving. So people got out in 27 and pushed her car by a sandwich shop, and she lived in that car with this little girl and her other sisters, and they lived there for almost 2 months. And they got outside, it was summertime too, so they got outside and they went to the Walmart or to the library during the day to avoid the heat, and they finally got through to us. And I went there, and I remember seeing this young girl and talking to her, and she's in the library playing hide and seek with me, and I'm talking to her mom, and I left there saying, we have to do something. Enough is enough. And I called my wife driving home. I said, I just met this little girl. I said, if we get this first trailer, we have to get them in it. Yeah. And it was within 2 to 3 weeks after that we got our first trailer.
You couldn't walk away one more time.
No, it was it. I couldn't do that pain again. And I said, we have to do something. And we got our trailer. We were still in those 3 weeks, we were still helping them. We were bringing food to her car. We were doing everything we could. We got a trailer. We got her in there. We got her a job. We got our children stabilized. And then we did something special for her. I won a few grants, and I took the broken down car that they lived in. They thought we had it trashed. I took the broken down car we lived in, the transmission went. So I took it to a transmission shop. It cost about $1,400. And we had the transmission fixed, and we brought it to her. And her kids walked out and saw the car and started crying, because to them, that was home.
Yeah.
That kept them safe for all these years. That's what they lived in. And it was just a great experience. We actually filmed it, and we gave them the car back. So now she had a vehicle back.
Did you show those already, Jay? Okay. This is kind of cool. You mentioned the trailer, so give us an idea of what you guys are doing.
Sure.
You came up with a solution. You were really at this what if, right? So tell us what you guys do.
So what we do.
Oh, here we go. I think we're going to bring this up. This is a great.
Awesome. That is one of our units. That's a park model unit that's in Clarebrook RV Resort. We have 4 of them in that particular place. Those are the non-portable ones, and we have portable ones. Our solution was simply, if we can find them affordable housing, and if we can let them live rent and utilities free for 6 to 12 months while we help them with job placement, meal planning, budgeting, we could really be a blessing to them. So I began calling these local RV parks, because when I first came to Florida, I worked as a general manager over an RV shop. So I knew RVs. I was like, wow, they can live in these things for a while. So we began negotiating rates with them to get affordable monthly rates, and then I began writing grants and studying how to write grants. I don't know how to write a grant. I couldn't afford $3,000 to pay for a grant writer, so I went to YouTube. And
So I think we have a picture here of some of what you've done.
Yes, and that's those are the types of trailers we use.
Now, how do you get the trailers?
The trailers, all of our trailers so far have been donated. I market through social media and inform them that they can donate a trailer through local churches, and then we have people call up that want to donate a trailer. We've had dealerships donate trailers. So all of our trailers have been donated, or families that donated the trailer because they wanted to really help.
Do they need a little work, the trailers usually?
Some of them need a little work, so we get volunteers from the church, and then some of them, like the last one we received, was just a wealthy gentleman that bought 4 trailers. They were $89,000 a piece, and bought one for each child, and one child never came to get theirs. And he said he's not going to use it anyway. It's sitting here, and he gave it to us.
Now, are these typically Winnebagos? Are they pull-alongs?
Most of them are travel trailers, or if someone donates a park model, which means it's one that's on the ground. It's actually like a small house. Most of them are travel trailers. The reason we use travel trailers is because we wanted the goal was to make the housing portable. So we have a lady that lives in Claremont. She got a job in Winter Garden, but she can't take it because she can't travel that far. What I did was I towed it to the Winter Garden RV Park, which is right in front of the bus station, and now she can work. I have moved them in Leesburg. I have them in Claremont. I have them in Winter Garden. We do all throughout the county, so that regardless of where you get a job at, if you have a car or not, we can put it into a place that you can work.
I think this is one of the coolest things. This is a great picture. Did you just show that, Jay, or can you bring that back up? I think this is a cool thing because, there is room enough for this is usually considered a luxury, right? And this is one of these things that's very unique about the United States, right? People don't do this all over the world, right?
Very true.
There's a whole RV culture here. And, the fact that something that is not really going to carry value for you, can actually help a family. The other thing is, you're not just saying, okay, here you go, you can live for a while, we're forgetting you. You're leading them through some steps. And again, I'm back to, you talked about, especially when we talked about the teachers, because teachers make an okay salary, but it's not a great salary. So many of these working homeless are in a situation where they're in a 2-income relationship. And one of the incomes says, I'm out, goodbye, see you later, and the income disappears. And so when you work with these people, do you teach them, is part of it teaching them not to live up to every dime you spend?
So one of the trainings we do with them, which we have volunteers that work at the banks, is we teach them budgeting based off their own budget. So what happened, and like you said, what happened was they set their budget based off 2 incomes. So if we look at the fact that the divorce rate in the United States is about 50 to 51%, that means 50% of you, you're going to lose half of your income. So if you set your whole lifestyle based off of that,
makes sense. No
you're
savings.
Lose, no savings. They're going to lose that. So now we have to retrain them to say, how do you support you and your children when no one else comes in? Right. No other part. How do you do it now? So it's retraining them to look at the budget that way, to look at expenses that we don't need. We don't need the latest smartphones. I know it's great to have, but you don't need the latest ones. You don't need every TV channel known to mankind. There are things that we'll have to go without for a season and learn how to budget in if they're within that budget, and also to live within your means. What do you make, and how much is your cost of living? So,
and that's a great lesson for their children as well.
Yes.
You know, and I know that I had to teach my kids some of that the hard way. This is a great video he's showing now, what some of these places look like. I mean, they're certainly not, you know, it's not like they're living in, you know, I've seen some of these weekly hotels, and they're straight scary.
They're horrible.
You know, they're just horrible. And even the good ones
that
are safe and filled with retirees or whatever, the long-term residents, you know, that there's no drug problems or anything, even those can be kind of, you know, on the edge. But these are clean and you know, utilize, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, a toilet. A working toilet, right? I mean, because when you're homeless, there are needs that you don't think of that you're going to have to take care of, and you may not have that luxury.
When you bring the families in, it's funny the things they celebrate. And we played a video last week because it showed they were so happy. The kids said, we have our own bathroom. Like, they were happy about it, and they couldn't believe that the refrigerator was working. Like, does this get cold? Like, that was a shock to them. Like, so you don't realize what the...
Yeah, when they said we have our own bathroom, they didn't mean us, the kids. They meant the family.
The family,
right?
the
family had
we're not going to
one
house.
bathroom to share.
It's one bathroom for everybody. So
perspective.
So it really puts it in perspective of what's important.
You know, I talk to people all the time about the gratitude list and thinking the simple things. How about this? Do you have 2 bathrooms?
You
know? You turn on the... Does your fridge get cold?
Yep.
You know, do you turn on the water and it comes out of the tap and it's clean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, so basically the way this, you get some grant money, you get some donations. So this is a whole separate program. Now, I want to ask a question about your church. I asked you this. How big is your church?
Our church has an average about 130 to 145 people.
Do you know, I think this is amazing because this program has had far-reaching tentacles. How many families have you helped now?
Wow. We've helped a lot of families. In the last year, we probably helped over, with everything from housing to current rents, maybe 30, 35.
And how long have you been doing this?
3 years.
3 years. I think the thing that's most amazing about this is this, I really feel, is the purpose of church. It's really what the Lord put out for us to do, is to reach outside of our walls.
Absolutely.
So many of our churches, unfortunately, don't engage in this. When they make the excuse that we don't have enough, there's not enough of us, you're certainly, I'm fairly sure your church is not catering to millionaires.
No,
you're not talking 125 millionaires, you know, just average working blue-collar people, business owners, that sort of thing, you know, small business owners, and you've still managed to make a huge impact on the community, not just the community surrounding your church, but the community in general of Lake County and the surrounding area. Tell us what's next for you guys.
What's next is Find, Feed, Restore. Right now we have our free housing, 6 to 12 months. Our next phase is going to be developing more affordable housing options also, so if they can get into affordable housing. So last year we closed on a duplex in Leesburg that we now own, that we have 2 military families with children that have affordable housing because they work. We just won another grant and we bought 2 acres of land, and we'll be building, we put in for Lake County to build 14 units on there, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and 2-bedroom, 1-bath units for families to give both affordable housing and some no-cost housing for the first 6 months to help people get back on their feet. So now we're looking at setting up actual communities that we own the land and everything so that we can have both affordable and no-cost housing to help families get back on their feet. Our first project is the land we just closed on, and hopefully next month we'll actually be leveling the land.
How many families, how much housing are you hoping to put on that?
On that land, that's a small piece of land, it's only 2 acres, so 14 to 16 3-bedroom, 2-baths, and a couple of 2-bedroom, 1-baths on that property. It'll be our first demo. It'll have a clubhouse, it'll have free case management services, it'll have a job placement center. I'll have a lot of things for the community.
So this will be very similar to what's been done up at Woodwinds.
Yes,
Workforce
except this
housing.
will be the first privately owned one. It won't be
Privately
owned
owned.
by government.
Right.
Where, for instance, in those situations, if someone gets a raise and they make too much money, they have to
They
move
have to
out.
leave.
So this one will be actually individual owned. We can actually help families.
Do you know, it's actually a good point, because I know you do have criteria. I mean, you're not interested in being codependent to somebody for the next 7 years.
Yes.
Your whole point is to help them move along, find, feed, and
Restore.
restore.
Exactly. Yes.
So what is your criteria from you? You've said 6 to 12 months a couple of times.
Yes. So we let them stay. The 6 to 12 months is based off their efforts, what they're putting forth. So when they're putting forth the efforts, they're coming to their mentoring classes, doing the budget training, doing the meal prep training. When they're doing the classes and they're putting forth the effort, then we never make someone homeless again. We don't put you back out. We're going to say we find the angle to make you work. This year we helped three of our people bought their own places. 2 bought park model homes, 1 bought an actual home. And they were with us for a year and a half. But it took a year and a half to get them to that stage. For a single mom to do it by herself with 2 kids and now own a home. Yep. So we don't make you homeless again. Our program is saying, if you're willing to work, we'll work with you until we get to that goal. And our whole vision of that, of Fine for Restore, is based off one common principle. 96 AD, old man towards the end of his death wrote an epistle called the Johannine Epistles. Now it's part of the Bible. It's called 1st and 2nd John. And he simply said this. He said, Christ laid down his life for us. We ought to lay down our lives for others. If someone has this world's goods and sees their brother in need and does nothing, then how can God's love abide in him? Don't just love in word, love in deed. 1 John 3:16 through 18.
I love that.
That's what we live by.
I've always been a fan of the verse that says, you tell me, what is it? Faith in works. You tell me, show me, you tell me of your faith and show me your works, and I'll show you my faith by my works.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And that's just so true. You know, is that when my life was changed, my mentor always used to say, Joe, it's great to know the knowledge. It's great to speak the knowledge. It's better to put it in your feet.
Yes.
Yes. To love those around you. And he when he passed, he was known for starting a conversation with, and he helped hundreds of thousands of people, drug addicts and the homeless and stuff, in the course of his lifetime in his ministry, and directly helped, not like through 17 things. He directly helped hundreds of thousands of men change their lives. And he would start a conversation with, has anyone told you today? And somebody would answer the question, told me what? And he'd say, well, that Jesus loves you, and so do I. And so now what do you need?
That's it.
He was a firm believer of what he called the get in the ditch ministry. We talk about the Good Samaritan.
Yes.
Didn't just ride by and say, I can help you from up
Yes.
here. He got down in the ditch with you.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you're doing at Fine Feed.
That's our passion.
Now, I don't want to let anybody's cat out of the bag, but there have been some ideas floated about container housing.
Yes, container housing. So our container housing has been a huge thing. It's basically using the older shipping containers. They're made out of steel. So if you have one in good condition, they're excellent. You have to they create ventilation through them so they can have ventilation, and you can use mini split air conditioners to provide heating and cooling. So it's an awesome thing. It's not passed by our
we
cities yet.
have some examples of this up now.
Oh, awesome. Yes. So it's not fully passed by the cities yet, but it's a great option where if it is passed, to create tiny home villages with container homes, because they have a long lifespan.
And this is the kind of thing that I think is very, very important, because they're made of steel. They can be made very energy efficient.
Yes.
They're very green. They're very friendly, because you're not using them. They don't have to get cut up and used somewhere else. They're not sitting somewhere being ugly. And they're not just painted containers.
Yes.
You can see from some of these
beautiful
pictures, they actually make them attractive. They put windows in them.
They're beautiful. Sliding doors.
Yeah, sliding doors. And there's actually, I know that I've followed a trend that in places that allow them, people are putting them on larger pieces of land and turning them into B&Bs.
Yeah, yes.
To
Airbnbs,
and actually making money. This is something very important. What can we do to help as far as, should we be calling our city councilmen? Should we be calling our, county councilmen?
Yes, we should be calling definitely calling our councilmen, letting them know the need for affordable housing, letting them know that the employees here need a place to work here. And the businesses are feeling it because the employees can work here but can't afford to live here. So calling them, letting them know the importance of, tiny home villages are beautiful, whether you use container homes or smaller homes, and it has a huge impact in the city. It impacts everyone, it helps everyone. If you have a house, you have great property value, this helps. Because the restaurants you go to, the movie theaters you go to, those people that work those things, they actually have a place to live here now. And it actually helps.
Which is what helps your property value.
It helps your property value.
Restaurants are because if the restaurants can't get employees, they'll move.
They'll move
where they can.
Yep.
And again, this is something. It's a perception, and we've talked about our friend Steve Smith, who started New Beginnings.
Yes.
We talk to Stephanie Harris all the time.
Yes.
There's a perception that if we bring this kind of housing in, it's not. But we're talking about. Oh, here's a great picture of container housing.
Yep, that's actually a container apartment style housing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The concept that if we do this workforce housing, that we're bringing in some, government subsidy, Section 8 style, filled with crime. We're not talking about people that are on the dole. We're talking about people who are working.
Exactly.
We're talking about people who have jobs. We're trying to raise their children. We're trying to teach good values to their families. Yeah. These are families we're bringing in, not blight. We're talking about making our community more workable, and more dynamic.
And it's funny, what happens is, and I do it all the time when I go to New York, if you go to Manhattan, you can go down a certain part in downtown and you'll see the huge condo that they created. And the top floor is Jay-Z, and then Hugh Jackman has a floor underneath there. And you can film it. You take your phone and you film it. Then once you film it across the street, film down to the bottom of it by your feet. And there's a tent city right across the street from it. And the police let them live there. Why? Because they check their IDs and they work in the hotels. So the same people that serve Hugh Jackman's breakfast and Jay-Z's breakfast actually live on the floor in the tent city that's right across the street.
Because they can't
afford to live there, but they work there. And the city allows it because they have to have someone to serve the breakfast for these multi-million-dollar penthouses. Because what happens is, whenever we build wealth without workforce, you will have homelessness. So if you don't have workforce housing, but you have wealth, you will have homelessness.
And that's in New York City where travel is fairly affordable. Mm-hmm. We don't have a mass transit system like they do in a lot of these larger cities. And so if we don't have a mass transit system, again, we get back to the problem of a car.
Yes.
I mean, do these people ride a bike to work and show up all sweaty? They're not going to keep their job very long. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so Brian, thank you so much for coming out and talking. This is a very important subject. And I have people that ask me, Thursdays we dedicate to housing and real estate, and they ask me so much why I deal with these subjects and I don't do more real estate. Mostly because this is so important to real estate. Mm-hmm. Because without this, the real estate does not retain the value. Yep. And it's more than just the real estate. The community doesn't retain the value. If I'm interested in real estate, in my housing values, in my property values, I have to be interested in the value of my community.
Yes.
And the value of my community is based off of churches doing what you're doing and taking care of all of those. Yep. Anyways, thank you very much. I'll get off my soapbox now. It's supposed to be about you. I'll give you a soapbox. Look, man, this is your camera. If people want to help, if they want to donate, if they have questions, they want to volunteer, look in here, and I'm sure Jay will bring up your information on the screen. Tell the folks what they can do to take part.
There's so many ways you can help, from mentoring, from becoming a monthly partner. If you want to be a monthly partner for $12.99, that's 43 cents a day. You can't even buy a bottle of water for that. But for $12.99 a month, 43 cents a day, you can become a partner. Go to our website, findfeedrestore.com. If you work for a company, that company wants to become a company partner, then your company can give $30 a month and become a company partner. You'll get updates. You'll get videos of the families that you're helping with your money. Your $30 is going somewhere. So what we spend for a bottle of water, for less than that, you can actually help a homeless child. So you can volunteer as a mentor to mentor. You can volunteer as a coffee buddy to take them out once a month for coffee. There's so many different ways you can get involved. Visit our website, findfeedrestore.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Once again, an amazing guest. Thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate you. Look, if you know somebody that should be a guest on Joe Knows South Lake, if you know a subject I should be covering that's important to the community, let me know. My information is up there. I am more than willing to bring somebody on. We also have a community calendar now that we're creating. Reach out to us if you are a government agency, if you know of a business, an organization, or just somebody doing something really cool. You want to get on our community calendar. calendar. Reach out to me at the same information. We can bring you onto the show to talk about your event and even maybe have some opportunities for you to get a live feed for the event. Finally, if like Brian is the perfect example, there is greatness inside you, and Brian knows there's greatness inside him. He is using his greatness to bring out the greatness in others. You too can use your greatness to bring out the greatness in others. Do an act of kindness today. Don't forget it's Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. You see a cop, just give him a thank you. Shake his hand. Well, don't touch him unless he knows you're coming, right? He is a police officer. He has a gun and a badge. Okay. But say thank you. Give him a handshake. Give him a thumbs up. Whatever it takes. And with that, you will change a life. And by changing a life, you will change the world as Brian is changing the world around him. I want to say thank you for joining us. It's been a great show. I will see you tomorrow from the Claremont Boat Ramp ribbon cutting. We're doing a live feed from there. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. We'll see you then. And I guess that's it. And I love you. Bye-bye. My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe knows South Lake. Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors: